AITA for pressing charges on my wife after she went on a $47,000 shopping spree on my credit cards the day after our wedding. I'm 34, my now ex-wife is 29. We got married 3 weeks ago. Small wedding, nothing crazy, about $8K total, and we split the cost 50-50. The morning after our wedding, I woke up and she was on the couch with her laptop, scrolling through designer websites. Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Prada, all of it. I asked, "What are you doing?" She smiled and said, "Just browsing for some things I need." I didn't think much of it until later. That night, I happened to see her phone on the counter with her email open. Dozens of order confirmations. For designer purses, 2 pairs of shoes, a luxury wallet. The total? Around $12,000. All of it on my credit card. The one I'd added her to as an authorized user so she could build credit. I confronted her right away. I said, "What is this? You spent 12 grand in one day." She rolled her eyes and said, "Relax. I'm your wife now. You're supposed to take care of me. That's how marriage works." For context, we had already talked about finances before marriage. We both work. I make about $90,000. She worked as a legal assistant and made decent money. We agreed we'd keep our finances mostly separate at first and figure out a joint system later. So I reminded her of that conversation. She just stared at me like I'd insulted her entire family and said, very calmly, "I'm quitting my job." I honestly thought I misheard her. I asked, "What do you mean you're quitting? Since when?" She told me she had already given notice the day before our wedding. Her last day was that Friday. No discussion with me. No warning. Nothing. Then she said, "My dad always provided for my mom. That's your job now. Husbands provide. Wives stay home." I was stunned. She had never said she wanted to be a stay-at-home wife. She'd always talked about her career and dreams of moving up in her firm. Meanwhile, I make good money, but I am nowhere near support a luxury lifestyle and pay off 5-figure shopping sprees rich. Over the next 2 weeks, things got worse. Every day I came home from work to find more packages. Piles of boxes, clothes, more handbags, expensive shoes, jewelry, cosmetics, perfume that cost hundreds of dollars a bottle. I checked my credit card accounts. She had maxed out the card I'd added her to. Then I saw something that made my stomach drop. She had somehow gotten access to 3 other cards. Old cards I barely used that were sitting in a drawer in my desk. Every single one, maxed out. In total, she'd spent $47,000 in a little over 2 weeks. When I confronted her again, she flipped it on me. She called me controlling. She said I was being financially abusive for policing her spending. She told me that if I loved her, I would want her to be happy. I immediately canceled every card, changed every password, locked down all of my accounts. Then I sat her down and said, as calmly as I could, "You need to return all of this or get a job and pay it off yourself. I am not doing this." She burst into tears and called her parents. That same night, her family showed up at our apartment. Her dad started yelling at me in the hallway, calling me a manipulator and a deadbeat husband. Her mom was crying, saying I had tricked their daughter into marriage just to control her. Her brother, 28, got in my face and said if I didn't fix this situation, I would regret it. I told them exactly what was going on. I showed them the statements on my phone. Every purchase, every card, the total amount. I told them she quit her job without telling me and expected me to fund a luxury lifestyle we never discussed. Her dad's response, "So what? That's what husbands do. You provide. She takes care of the home." I pointed out that she doesn't cook, doesn't clean, and had literally spent the last 2 weeks shopping online while I worked 50+ hours a week. Her brother called me a liar and shoved me. At that point I said, "You all need to leave. Now, or I'm calling the police." They left. She went with them. 2 days later, I got a call from her aunt. I'd met this woman once. She told me she'd heard I was abusing my wife, that I was controlling, and that the whole family was going to make sure everyone knew what kind of man I was. I said, "Go ahead. Tell whoever you want." They did. Her mom made a long Facebook post saying I was financially abusive, that I had isolated her daughter, and that I'd even canceled my wife's Spotify account as some kind of punishment. For the record, her Spotify was on my payment plan. She upgraded it to a family plan without asking and added 6 of her friends. So yeah, I canceled it. Somehow, that Spotify detail blew up in their community. I started getting messages from random people online calling me controlling and trash. So, I posted my own receipts. I blurred personal info and account numbers, but I posted the credit card statements, the list of purchases, the totals, screenshots of her texts to friends bragging about how she was never working again and how she'd trained me well. A photo of the spare bedroom closet, literally packed wall to wall with designer shopping bags. Her family absolutely lost it. Her dad threatened to sue me for defamation. Her brother showed up at my job and had to be escorted out by security. My wife called me in tears, begging me to take everything down because I'd humiliated her and ruined her life. I told her, "You ruined your own life when you lied to your family and stole from me." Around this time, I talked to a lawyer. That's when I found out something important. 2 of those maxed out cards, she had applied for them herself using credit card applications that came in my name in the mail. She forged my signature. The last card, she took it from my desk, activated it, and used it without my knowledge. That's not just shopping. That's identity theft and fraud. On my lawyer's advice, I filed a police report. She has now been officially charged. I also filed for an annulment based on fraud, and it was approved last week. Her family hasn't stopped. They say I'm destroying her future over a few purchases. Her friends are messaging me saying I should have just communicated better, and that I'm horrible for involving the police instead of just divorcing her quietly. Even a couple of my coworkers think I went too far and say that marriage is about forgiveness. Now I'm second guessing myself. On one hand, she lied, quit her job without telling me, forged my signature, opened credit cards in my name, maxed out everything, and then tried to paint me as an abuser when I pushed back. On the other hand, this is now a criminal case, and it will affect the rest of her life.